What is up, everybody? You're very welcome back to Leeds Bros. Hope everybody is keeping and doing well. And a little bit of an unplanned video, I do have to say. I was sitting around on me Sunday, no Leeds United news, no football to watch in the middle of the international break. And then up popped an article from the Daily Mail about ex-Leeds United chairman Andrea Radrizzani. Was behind a paywall, and I was like, no, I'm not buying it. Not listening. Don't care what he has to say. And then my nosiness got the better of me, and I just had to find out. What he was saying about Leeds United. Do have to say it was a very good article, very insightful, good bit of length in it. So I'm not going to read it all out because it absolutely bore you guys to death. But what I've done, I've broken it down into 5 parts just so we can follow along a little bit easier. And then what I want you guys to do, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of Andrea Radrizzani's time at Leeds United? Do you look back on it with a little bit of fondness and happiness? Or do you look back on it with a little bit of regret the way that it all ended? Before we do get into the video, guys, please make sure you're dropping a big like on the video. And of course, if you're new here, we would love you to hit subscribe. So let's get into it. So first part is absence and regret during relegation. So obviously, it's been 2 years since Andrea Radrizzani stepped foot in Elland Road after that relegation season. That last home game of the season against Tottenham Hotspur, we know Radrizzani was in Italy. He was about to purchase Italian side Sampdoria, and the 49ers are waiting in the wing to take over Leeds United. And it all felt a little bit all over the place. We were all over the place on the pitch. We were all over the place off the pitch as well. And it just didn't feel like the best timing. And we know that Radrizzani and co did not show up to the last game of that relegation season, which I felt was very poor. But he goes on to say he recalls that period in his life an absolute nightmare and admits that it was a mistake not to attend the final game. And he should have. He should have. He was still chairman of Leeds United, whether he was looking to sell the club and buy someone else. He was still chairman of Leeds United. Elland Road was packed out with Leeds United fans, full of anger with nowhere to channel it, looking across at the West Stand and seeing empty board seats. He should have been there to show more respect to the fans and more respect to the club after being through so much together. So I agree with him with that. He should have been there that last home game of the season and taken on the chin whatever was thrown at him that day, because look, he deserved it. There was a lot of bad decisions coming towards the tail end of his reign at Leeds United. He also goes on to say that he reflects on a lot of errors made and decision making, particularly not replacing Jesse Marsch sooner before the 2022 World Cup. And I think we'd all agree with that as well. I think if we had lost that game at Anfield that we won 2-1, which gave us all so much joy, you probably would have seen Jesse Marsch sacked and someone else coming in. And again, it's a big if. Could have stayed up, could have still went down. Who knows now? But he looks back at that time saying that that was a time where he should have replaced Jesse Marsch. He goes on to say, while you can't live with ifs and buts, it was still one of my major regrets the final year at Leeds United. And of course it is. No one wants to fail. And everyone loves to be loved. And he certainly loved to be loved. But definitely that final year at Leeds United was absolutely horrendous. So then the article goes on to say, so from early popularity to the sale of the football club, Radrizzani took over Leeds United in 2017, taking over from then owner Massimo Cellino. And in fairness, we do offer him a massive thanks for that one, because it was a nightmare under Cellino. 7 managers in 3 years. The club was a complete shambles. It was a pub team, wasn't it? It was just absolutely horrendous. So we do owe him a little bit of thanks for taking over from that complete shit show under Cellino. So initially, he was usually popular with the Leeds fans, especially across social media. He was engaging with a lot of fans and, writing back to young kids going to the game and saying, enjoy your game and stuff like that. And then definitely after promotion back to the Premier League after 17 years in 2020 under Bielsa, we all looked at him as, really good owner, the best owner that we had in 20 years, getting us back to the promised land. Then obviously we get relegated in 2023 and the club's valuation plummeted and he ends up selling to the 49ers for 170 million. Weeks after the Leeds United Supporters Club deemed him and declared him no longer appropriate owner for the football club. And I remember that as well. And I do it right at the time as well, because it was just turning into a complete mess. But Radrizzani has had a say on it. He admits, with relegation, I should have not sold the club. It would have made more sense as a business to keep it. I don't know about that. But I was overwhelmed. I was alone. And I was not in the condition to continue. I don't know if it would have worked out. I really don't. I think things went well too sour. My only thoughts on it should have waited until relegation was confirmed, or survival should have been confirmed. I think at the time we were obviously battling on the pitch and battling off the pitch. This sort of stuff could have waited until the summer, get us sorted then, and give ourselves a fighting chance on the pitch. But we were all over the place. There was no stability in the football club. There was no connection with the club and the fans and with the players. It was just an absolute mess. And it was all the signs that Leeds were going to go down. And ultimately, we did. Article goes on to say, despite everything Radrizzani and his family still remain emotionally attached to Leeds United. His 9-year-old son is a proud supporter of Leeds United, shocking most Italians who expect him to support Juventus or AC Milan. Now with Leeds United back in the Premier League under Daniel Farke, and listen to this one, Radrizzani plans to return to Elland Road for the West Ham match on October 24th, which will be very interesting. I'm heading over to that game myself. It'll be interesting to see if Radrizzani is there, and if he is, what sort of reception he's going to get from the Leeds United fans. So it'll be an interesting one to see with that one. Goes on to say the reason why he bought the football club was from Liverpool legend Kenny Dalglish, who he had lunch with in 2016 and told him that Leeds United was a sleeping giant. And then he realised that Leeds United fans really were everywhere and that the club was absolutely massive. We know that anyway. He then goes on to speak about Marcelo Bielsa. So he says Marcelo Bielsa arrived with a suggestion of Victor Orta, and Radrizzani calls him unbelievable. He remembers the infamous Spygate saga with Derby County, and he said, "At first I was worried, then I was angry, but then in the end it was so entertaining that I loved it." Yeah, look at we look back at Spygate, and probably I was probably the same as well. I think we were all a little bit worried, especially when Bielsa called that press conference. We were like, he's gonna leave, he's gonna walk out on us. Then it was a little bit angry, going, this is gonna derail our season. They're gonna points deduct us. They're gonna fine us. They're gonna find some way to derail Leeds United season. Then ultimately, then I think it was 200,000, which Bielsa paid out of his own pocket was the fine. Ultimately, then we look back on it now with a little bit of tongue in cheek and a little bit of laughing, the Spygate and stuff like that. So yeah, very entertaining. But he goes on to say about Bielsa, Marcelo was the catalyst for Leeds as a city and as a club. I regret that I sacked him, but at the moment, it was a rational one to save the club and keep them in the Premier League. And again, look at this, probably one that still divides fans with this one. I've still heard some Leeds fans saying they would have rather go down under Bielsa. Other Leeds United fans said it should have happened a little bit earlier. So I'm very much one of them. You just don't know what happened. Could Bielsa turned it around? I'm not too sure. Would have liked to be relegated with him. Would he have had it stayed if we did go down to the championship? I'm not too sure. And again, what Radrizzani said, it's all ifs and buts. You can't tell the future. So he goes on to say, after Bielsa and Marsch, and then obviously the missed opportunity. So Jesse Marsch replaced Marcelo Bielsa after keeping Leeds United up in the first season. Then he was sacked less than a year later. Radrizzani regrets not replacing Marsch sooner, despite the attempts to hire other coaches like Unai Emery, Julian Lopetegui, Arne Slot, and Adoni Iriola. All very good coaches. Look how well they're all doing now. Would have been great to get one of them. And then obviously then we end up going to hire Javi Gracia, only lasted 2.5 months, and then Sam Allardyce, which was a disaster, an absolute disaster that Leeds United even went down that route. But he has had a say on the 49ers and Daniel Farke again. He goes on to say, he's proven that he is the right man for the job. Obviously, speaking about Daniel Farke, the team just doesn't concede much and it's well organised, just needs to score more goals. He does reflect on social media criticism, stepping back after constant abuse, but remains proud of his work. He was getting a lot of abuse on social media. We've seen that after he did sell Leeds United. So he goes on to say, we invested, transformed, modernised the club, and finally achieved our historical promotion after 17 years, thanks to Marcelo Bielsa. So this is the part of the article I did like with Radrizzani, that he didn't take all the credit. He wasn't saying that it was me, I done it, I invested, I done this, I brought Marcelo Bielsa in. He does give the credit to Marcelo Bielsa, so you do have to thank him for that. The article then does go on to say about kind of what sort of legacy he leaves at Leeds United. Goes on to say about the growth revenue, which obviously us as fans aren't interested in. We don't care. Then it talks about smart player sales like Rafinha and Calvin Phillips. And again, as fans, look, it's not going into our own, but we look at Rafinha and Phillips as players that we all loved, we all adored, and seeing them being sold, regardless how much. You don't want to see it as a football club. So that was a bit of a nonsense article. He then goes on to say and talks about the time at Leeds United being an absolute roller coaster and the heartbreak of the playoff, and says that it took a lot of faith and patience. That was the key part of the promotion in 2020. He said, I prayed a lot for Leeds United at the time, and the next year I stopped praying was the year that we got promoted, and God delivers in his own time. He warns that football club ownership is addictive and risky, and due to the adrenaline and competitiveness is the reason that he does it. So the final reflection on it then, he said, it was the greatest award, making people happy and returning Leeds United back to the Premier League after 17 long years. Then he goes on to say, when you make so many people happy because of your investment and your work, it's a glory that nothing else in the world can give you. And I do thank everybody involved. Radrizzani says now that he is healthier and he is at peace. At least I don't suffer anymore like I used to when I was in football. he still cares deeply about Leeds United and worries about the fan reaction that he gets, showing his ongoing emotional connection with Leeds United. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of reaction Radrizzani will get. I think this article is being put out here, obviously, prompting Leeds United fans and prompting people like me to give it to the rest of the Leeds United fans that Radrizzani is going to be showing up to the game to see what sort of kickback he's going to get, whether fans are happy to kind of see him back there and say, look, at bygones be bygones, or whether he's going to get a little bit of negativity at Elland Road. So, yeah, as I said, a very good article from Radrizzani. Me personally, my opinion of Radrizzani is he done some very good things. He obviously achieved what we all wanted as Leeds United fans for 17 years, gets us back to the Premier League. And then after that, but we didn't have the financial muscle to compete in the Premier League. You could see it after that first year, that ninth finish again was probably the worst thing that happened to Leeds United, because I think it put the blinkers on Radrizzani and co. We didn't invest properly in that summer as well. We didn't invest in the infrastructure. Elland Road still needed the redevelopment as well. And it felt like they were dragging their heels a little bit and seeing how much money they could save and get away with. And Bielsa himself turned around and said 3 years. He said, my project will only work for 3 years. After 3 years, you either replace the manager or you replace all the players. And ultimately, he was right. But I look back at Radrizzani's time with fondness personally myself. I do, because he gave us that memory. He gave us that memory. Well, Bielsa did. Bielsa gave us that memory, but ultimately it wouldn't have happened without Radrizzani being at the top for it all. But yeah, to get your thoughts on Radrizzani, his time at Leeds United, do you look back on it and say, yeah, no, look at good times, and then look at to the end, the way that he treated the club at the end, obviously trying to use Elland Road as catalyst as well to hit the boys. Sampdoria was complete, blew all of our minds as Leeds United fans at the time as well. So we'll leave it there, guys. Hope you did enjoy the video. Bit of a one outside the norm, but I hope you did enjoy it. Don't forget to drop a like on the video. And of course, if you're new here, we'd love you to hit that subscribe button. So mind yourselves, mind each other. Catch you in the next.